Coddiwomple, an obscure English word with an interesting meaning. Following the Hong Kong riots and requiring more production space, the company set up a second factory in Singapore. I was excited to go to a fresh environment after 10 years in Hong Kong. We begin with a short tour of this interesting place as it was in 1970. Traditional shophouses line the banks of the bustling Singapore River in scenes which no longer exist today. Tall modern buildings encroach on the picturesque but crumbling colonial structures. Situated 1 degree from the equator, we are enveloped in the steamy tropics, surrounded by exotic flowers and orchids, for which Singapore is famous. We become acquainted with unfamiliar but delicious tropical fruit. Singapore is a multicultural country where every culture celebrates their traditions. The majority of the population are of Chinese origin, although the island was originally part of Malaya, ruled by the Sultan of Johor. There are also many people of Indian origin. The celebration of Thaipusam involves painful penance, giving thanks for wishes granted or pleas for those that are desired. Another involves an amazing ordeal by fire. can personally testify that the fire is hot enough to sear the eyeballs from 10 feet away and to blister the paint on the temple walls. Those tending the fire have to be continually doused in water. The crowds and the heat were so intense that it proved impossible to film the firewalkers without serious risk of finishing on the fire. But I saw many people cross the fire without injury. Now, to the reason for being here. Imagine converting a plot of reclaimed land into a functioning factory, using willing but untrained staff, to create from scratch 3 lines of wood boats of different lengths, while also designing and building a new high-performance boat in fiberglass. For the latter, we are instructed by naval architect Bob Doris, shown here in the foreground of this photo, along with myself and a group of brand new Singaporean staff. My position was leading all design and development. This photo of me in my office, on which someone has added some optimistic remarks. An early memory is attending the opening ceremony of a small, local, family-owned and operated casting factory. I had hired Rex, fellow apprentice who had been on the truck trip, as a thermodynamic engineer to help with the building of the engines we marinized for the fast boats. My family were also there. My interest in photography had progressed to shooting video with a 16mm camera. I joined the Singapore Cine Club, and by default, after the withdrawal of the British Army took away most members, I wound up as president of the club. On the basis of, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, my wife Mary became secretary, which included getting out a monthly newsletter. As a family, we were keen to make a few local journeys. In 1971, our first was to Kuantan, along the east coast of Malaysia, bordering the South China Sea. We visit a Buddhist temple deep in a cave overlooking the jungle. Here we see baby turtles hatched from eggs laid along the shore. These have been dug up and harvested for their protection. These young will be placed in the sea and hopefully return to these beaches when they become adults to lay their own eggs. Annual home leave is common for expat contracts. Instead of using it to visit our home country, we took this opportunity to visit other countries. The first of these was in 1972, when we visited Thailand and Bangkok's famous floating market. We continue on to Agra in India, where the streets are a frenetic cacophony of every kind of transport. We even see a snake charmer create a mock battle with the mongoose. We visit the magnificent Taj Mahal. We cross the Himalayas to Srinagar and Kashmir and cruise serene Dal Lake. We take a pony ride through the magnificent surrounding mountains. The following year, we travel to Sri Lanka, the Seychelles, and back to Kenya, where we visit the remote northern desert. Today, you can only take this road with an armed police escort. Marsabit Mountain is surrounded by volcanic craters called Goughs. We are on our way to visit the biggest in the immediate area, called Goughs Bongoli, and four-wheel drive is a necessity. In 1973, the most famous elephant at Marsabit, and in fact in the whole of Kenya, was Ahmed. He had presidential protection and was guarded at all times by 2 armed askaris because of the ivory in his huge tusks, which must have been a real burden for their owner. You can just see a camel caravan in the background. Ahmed died at an age of between 55 and 65, and his remains are on display in a Nairobi museum. The wells at Marsabit have long been a vital source of water from herdsmen from the whole district. Every day, herds of cattle and other animals head for the wells and await their turn to drink. The water is drawn by hand as it has been for centuries. The government offered to install pumps, but the Boran people refused because they were afraid that they would lose control of the water to the government. The water is drawn by teams using leather buckets made from the hides of giraffe. They sing to synchronize their movements, and the wells are known as the singing wells. When I shot this film, I recorded the chanting, but alas, the tape was mislaid over the last 30 years. The music used in this film is African, but not authentic to the wells. Clay pots are filled with water and packed out to surrounding villages. The desert is immense and stretches far beyond the horizon in every direction. This faint track leads out to the Chalbi Desert. The air shimmers in the heat, unrelieved by even a scrap of shade. It is essential to carry water, usually in a canvas water bag, through which water seeps and evaporates. The taste leaves something to be desired, but the evaporation process keeps the water cool. This is camel territory. The surface is stones with sparse vegetation struggling for life. Water here is drawn from shallow wells sunk in a dry riverbed. The village consists of a few trees and corrugated iron huts, which must be like ovens in the blistering heat. In this biblical scene, the camels drink their fill, while women and young girls fill clay pots for water to take back to their villages. Life here has been almost unchanged for thousands of years, except that now it is probably even harder. Since this film was shot, there have been a series of droughts which have stressed already scarce water supplies, promoting human conflict, aggravated by increased cattle rustling and just plain banditry from a lawless Somalia only a few miles away. Cattle rustling has long carried the death penalty in Kenya, so raiders shoot to kill to avoid being caught. This is not a trip you could safely undertake today. Closer to home, in 1974, in Singapore, we borrow a Grand Banks to visit the uninhabited Tioman group of islands off the Malaysian coast in the South China Sea. We are accompanied by Rex and his wife. We go ashore and fight our way through the jungle to a wild mango tree and collect a huge number of windfalls. We also explore a wrecked vessel. Back in the shipyard, huge changes have been taking place. After 8 years of building and establishing the Grand Banks lines of boats in wood in Hong Kong and Singapore, the entire production was converted to fiberglass. The first boat, a GB-36, was completed in June 1973. Suddenly, without warning, our whole world collapsed. The oil crisis of 1973 hit the world like an earthquake. Sales crashed, plunging the company into bankruptcy. The bank sent in the receivers. The Hong Kong factory, which had funded the Singapore yard, was permanently closed. Singapore employees were cut from 1,800 to just 300. The company owners, my employers, were fired. I was one of the few managers retained by the bank to try to save what was left. With a future so precarious, we bought our first ever house in the county of Devon in southwest England, near the coastal town of Bedford. My family moved back to become reacquainted with our native land in all its seasons. While I returned to Singapore and worked with other survivors of the bankruptcy, to try to resuscitate the company. But that will be the subject of the next episode.